Sharks are one of the groups in the animal kingdom that have suffered some of the most severe declines in past decades due to human activity. And this might be the case for the species that I'm studying, the Pacific nurse shark. However, we know very little about this species. Essentially, we know it occurs from Mexico to Peru in the Latin American Pacific, and we know that in this area, it interacts with fisheries. We know that in some places it is caught as bycatch, in other places it is caught to consume and to sell commercially. But other than this, we know not a lot much more. So this species has been classified as endangered, making research very important and very urgent for it. For my thesis, we're working in my home country of Costa Rica in Santa Elena Bay, this area right here, a protected area, and the unprotected waters of the Gulf of Santa Elena that are nearby. We have used drone surveys to identify aggregation sites in this bay, and have found two beaches where the sharks form groups that can be small, like this group of around 5 sharks, to groups that can go as big as 47 sharks. We think that this might be due to their temperature preferences in the water, or even to lunar phase, but we're still collecting data to find out. We have also used acoustic telemetry to identify the movements of the sharks and track them. The way this method works is that we capture the sharks and attach one of these transmitters, which then sends a signal that can be detected by receivers that we have in the water. That way, whenever a shark swims by a receiver, we know that the shark was there, and we can then generate tracks of where the shark had been moving. This has given us some very interesting results. We have seen that even though the sharks spend a lot of time in the bay, they do often exit and go to different parts of the Gulf of Santa Elena. And one of our sharks gave us even more interesting data, where this male traveled south almost 200 kilometers and then came back to Santa Elena Bay in a matter of just 2 months. So what this data is telling us is that the sharks are moving outside of the protected area quite a lot. And then maybe a small protected area that's very localized might not be that effective for their conservation. So ideally, what might be a better solution and what could be done to protect the species throughout its Latin American range is to create a network of marine protected areas and then identify those places where the sharks are forming aggregations and places where they may be more exposed to fisheries. Hopefully, with this research, we will be able to ensure the well-being of this species in the coming decades.